What an extreme experience watching Aggro Drift one night and John Krasinski's If the next night. Joe, I may occasionally hyperbolize on this show. We're all guilty of it. But I was not hyperbolizing about Aggro Drift, and I am not exaggerating when I say to you on this show, on Movies Baby, that John Krasinski's If is the worst movie I have ever seen.
Ever.
And it is, I will say this, it's uniquely constructed to annoy me and what I like about movies.
Okay.
But I feel like that's the same for a lot of people, so I'm going to generalize and say this is the worst movie I've ever seen.
Okay.
I want y'all to imagine if the world's most annoying boyfriend made a Pixar movie. That's If. John Krasinski is a problem, people. He is becoming a bigger problem by the day. He is a supremely motivated and utterly talentless filmmaker, the worst possible combination. He is well-connected and without inspiration. He is a director whose movies feel cynically geared to make studios happy but not audiences. This is the man who started hosting a homemade talk show during COVID called Some Good News that was dedicated entirely to good news and had an adorable little sign drawn by his children. Fun! Jim from The Office is trying to make our lives better. Until he sold it to Viacom CBS for millions of dollars and then we never heard about it again. This guy literally profited off COVID. That is pandemic profiteering.
He's a real Fauci type.
He took advantage. Shut up. He took advantage of our vulnerability that we just wanted something fun and then sold it to the Viacom CBS like that. He also is the man who stood on a red carpet at the Jack Ryan premiere and said, quote, "The CIA is something we should all not only cherish, but be saying thank you for every single day." John, what are you doing? A healthy distrust of the CIA is literally one of the few things that we all agree on at this moment. It's all we have left. Why are you trying to take that away from us?
It's like that in football. Like,
what
that's
are you
it.
doing?
Yeah, right,
that's
right.
it.
Yeah.
You company man, you hack. Now, I want you to imagine that guy I just described making a whimsical kids movie. What kind of movie are you picturing right now? Because it's probably exactly that kind of movie. A transparent cash grab that tries to monetize childhood whimsy while making a movie that no child could possibly relate to or enjoy. This movie isn't actually for kids. Or if it is trying to be, it doesn't understand kids. Don't you have kids, John? A movie whose surprisingly convoluted plot, weirdly hard to follow this movie, can only be explained as a strategic attempt to create as many pathways to IP expansion as possible. John isn't content with one franchise, A Quiet Place. He wants more franchises, baby, and then more, until the mind of John Krasinski is a phrase that we have to pledge fucking allegiance to during Homeroom. So what is If about? Briefly, I don't even know, to be honest, and I sat through the whole thing. There are imaginary friends are real. So the imaginary friend you had as a kid, whether that's that big purple Grimace knockoff voiced by Steve Carell, or some sort of Betty Boop looking fly that Fiona Shaw, voiced by Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Sorry.
But in the movie, it's Fiona Shaw who was roped into doing this
it.
for some unknown reason.
Got it.
Money, sure. That's her imaginary friend. Whatever. Okay, it's about imaginary friends, and then when you don't believe in the imaginary friend anymore, they go to like a retirement home under Coney Island, and then Ryan Reynolds kind of has to like watch over them all, and he's constantly sort of like White Rabbit levels of like anxiety about it, and he's got like suspenders on, and he's sort of fancifully dressed, and he's running around doing Ryan Reynolds shtick.
When you like a red button, like what I don't want to hear anymore.
And there are I haven't even got to the point where John Krasinski does his best Patch Adams imitation. I'll talk about that in a second. So whatever, who gives a shit what If is about? It's about imaginary friends and a lot of this, CGI and all John Krasinski's famous friends doing their voices, blah, blah, blah. What it really does is it answers the question, hey, what if a Park Slope kid-friendly speakeasy with craft cocktails and a game corner was a movie? Hey, what if whimsy was a corkscrew that Jim from The Office kept twisting into your skull for 90 minutes? Here's some things that made The Fires of Hell seem like an enviable alternative while I was watching this movie. In the opening scene, they do a sort of whimsy of childhood childhood montage where you see John Krasinski, who's in the movie, his 2 kids running around the multiple floors of the Park Slope brownstone they live in, doing fun, expensive games that are full of arts and crafts and things that no kid could possibly be competent enough to create, much less sort of be occupied by for more than 5 minutes. It is once again, it is like a Park Slope parent's vision of whimsy. And I'm sorry.
You got to chill out on
Park
the Park
Slope is gorgeous. Our friend Joe lives there,
You
and
gotta chill out.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But I don't know what other place I can
everything
use
you're
to
saying
explain
is
this.
explaining it.
You know,
correctly.
it's like, look, every place has its bad parts, its good parts. I love Park Slope. It's gorgeous.
All
But
right,
you know
thank
what
you.
I'm saying. You know what I'm fucking
thank
saying.
God.
You know what I'm saying.
I'm glad you clarified.
These fucking hipsters that bought a brownstone in the 80s for cheap, and now it's like, $3 million, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. All right. So, blah, 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 blah. They dress their 6-year-old up like Tina Turner. That's kind of weird. And then halfway through this opening whimsy of childhood montage, they start to be like in a hospital. And I'm like, huh? And then the mom is starting to clearly go through chemotherapy. They're still doing whimsy of childhood, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding
Sorry,
me?"
so this is minute like 1, right?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
I was like,
this is the first minute of the movie.
He's doing up. He does up as the opening, cold open of the movie.
Got it.
But just charmlessly, so charmlessly, it's offensive. And he kills off the mom before anybody has a line of dialogue. This mom is dead in the cold open.
Good. Good.
And then John Krasinski weirdly got jealous of whatever sort of like emotional capital that won for the mom character. When we come back to the present day, John Krasinski's very healthy looking character is also in the hospital and is suffering from some unnamed illness in the movie, and he keeps reassuring the daughter, it's just a routine surgery, I'll be fine. And I was like, what is happening?
Okay.
Like, it literally feels like John Krasinski was jealous of that he killed off the mother, and he's like, I want that sort of unearned like I want the audience's like empathy.
So you think you think his character in the movie was faking being ill?
Possibly.
Okay. All right, we don't know.
Possibly.
We don't know. Okay. So what about the imaginary
While
friends?
hold on.
Sorry.
While he's in the hospital, he starts doing these Patch Adams routines to entertain his daughter when she comes to visit him. He puts a wig on an IV bag and is doing a sort of Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers dance with it. The only problem is, look, Patch Adams was tough enough when Robin Williams attempted it. John Krasinski is the most. I know we can do those little looks to camera from The Office. This is one of our most charmless actors. This man has zero charisma, zero charm, and watching him do goofy Robin Williams shtick makes me want to freaking shove. I wanted to have an imaginary friend with a machine gun to kill me is what I wanted, an imaginary friend. I was miserable in this movie. This movie was like looking into the pits of hell. It's so cynical in the way that it thinks it's a movie for kids. It's not a movie for kids. Kids like weird shit. Kids like think about the stuff you liked as a kid. You don't like some adult's version of what they think. It is such like an adult's version of a kid's movie.
So how do the imaginary friends factor in?
I don't care about the plot. I don't know. They come and they go.
We don't know. They come and they go.
I'm not kidding. I was a little blinded by rage. Yeah. It is also weirdly hard to follow.
Right.
It's like has a weirdly convoluted plot that I again think is because it was like this movie is like potentially setting up an If franchise.
Yeah.
And so he needed to like really do a lot of groundwork, but the groundwork gets a little messy. And this movie could have had it really just could have had a simple like Monsters Inc. sort of like establish the plot. The imaginary friends come and go from the real world. Like it could have very simply, easily established the dynamics. It doesn't. It tries to make it as hard as possible in order to like extend the boundaries of the world. So there's a lot to pull from for future movies. I think that's my guess.
Okay. So Ryan Reynolds comes off poorly in the film.
Reynolds is cooked.
Wow. So
Here's
that's
what I'll
If.
say. Here's what I'll say, Joe. It's so eager to win your heart so that it can like own your heart financially. That is the vibe of the movie.
Ugh.
It's the eagerness of Visa asking you to sign up for a credit card with 0% introductory APR. It's the eagerness of a financial institution that doesn't respect you. If plus Krasinski's CIA comment plus some good news, that's 3 strikes, Krasinski. You're out. No more movies for Krasinski.